Hello, all you hardcore boxing fans out there. How are you doing? It's Big Porky here, the voice of hardcore boxing. But you already know that, don't you? Because that's why you've tuned in to see me. Because I say the things that nobody dare say. Because not many people have got gonads as big as me. Right. Today I'm joined by my good friend Terry from London. How are you doing, Terry? Let me just shut this. Pull these blinds down, Terry. Go on, keep talking.
No, I'm good, mate. Keep the blinds open, Porky. Shine the light. Mate. So you've crossed over to the dark side, Russ.
Yeah. Oh, do you mean we pressing the join button?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes I don't make all decisions at the moment, do I? I've had a good run, haven't I? But the powers that be. No, what's happening is we do 30 videos a month, which is it's a lot, isn't it? It's for one person to do. You're going to get 20 videos free minimum, and the other 10 you've got a joint members area to get them. So that's the white button below. Now we've got that. Now we've got that out of the way.
But do you remember, Russ?
Yeah.
Russ, so I was thinking about this, right? Do you remember in the old days, you had to ring like 0898 555 7212 to get all the latest football gossip? Do you remember in those days you had to dial in?
Well, it teletext.
No. Teletext was different. Like you used to dial into this number, right? And it was like 50p a minute. And what it would do is it would have like all the football news just on a massive loop. And so, like, let's say you had 5 minutes worth of time, it would tell you Alan Shearer's potentially off to Man United, sources. It was all that stuff that people, because we used to pay for this stuff back in the day.
Yeah.
And it's almost like we've gone too far the other way where we made everything free.
Yeah.
And now we've got to start saying to people, look, you know, it's not cheap and it's not easy to produce content. Like, you know, Russ, man, we've been doing this for years. You know what I mean? We've been doing it for years. And it's not easy.
Fortunes, mate. Fortunes.
Yeah. And to be honest, the only reason I don't charge is it means I'm free to do what I want when I want.
Yeah.
So now, fair play to you. Listen, and also all the guys listening, I know it's easy to complain and it's easy to jump in the comments and say all this sort of stuff, but you walk into your place of work and you tell your colleagues that you're willing to do it for free and see what they say to you.
Well, it's not. I can explain it. It's not a bit of a joke and a laugh now, is it? There's like I'm getting pulled about all over the place and things like that, and I don't have a say in everything now. I can quite easily get outvoted and everything. It could have been more than that. I fought tooth and nail to get it to that. I mean, it's £5.99. I don't like to talk money on that. I find it embarrassing, but £5.99, you get an extra 10 videos. That's how it's got to be. If not, there's the best content. Yeah, well, it's different content to everybody else, and obviously I don't get as much access, and I ain't got time to run up and down country, but I do a fair bit of miles. I did 30,000 miles in the last 12 months. That's a lot of miles, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, but if they don't want to pay the £5.99, it's okay. There's another 20 videos on the channel minimum that are free, but that's just how it's got to be, I'm afraid.
But just no negativity in the comments about charging because.
What? Do me a favour.
Yeah. And someone suggested another way you can make this viable, and listen, people will jump on it.
It's not. I wanted it to be like, in my shed. It was all right when it was on. There were no hassle. Just me in my shed, doped out my mind, steaming or coming down after a heavy session, letting rip Sunday morning. It's not gonna. It can't be like that no more because obviously, I'm not going corporate or anything like that. But there's been some changes in that, and we've got to cut swearing out and stuff like that. But it's just how it goes, isn't it? It's something that I like doing, and it's something that's turned from a passion into this now, isn't it? I suppose. So, all right. Right then, Terry. Should we go balls deep?
Are you allowed to say that?
Yeah, I can say balls deep. Yeah, it could be footballs at the bottom of a swimming pool, couldn't it? I want to start with this because he's just won helmets with Dave Caldwell, which I filmed on 1st of March in Chris Smedley's gym. Big shout out Chris Smedley, King's Boxing,
always.
Retford Road, Woodhouse, Sheffield. Eddie Earning, them Dolce & Gabbana Jamas. Is he starting to make everything about him?
Not this time, Russ, because, like, you know what boxing's like. It's a small world, right? Yeah. So the background story I got was Canelo realized he needed a proper English-speaking promoter. Like, he's saturated the Latin American market. Like, he can't get any bigger in the Latin American market.
Yeah.
But Canelo can get bigger in the non-Latin American market. So he needs someone like Hearn who's just going to run around. So actually, it's not about Hearn. And if anyone knows Canelo well enough, he is in 100% control of his career. Because remember, Russ, he's from a family of boxers. He's from a boxing family. So you can't really pull a fast one on him because all of his older brothers have seen it all before. So Eddie knows he's there to be a mouthpiece. That is it. There's nothing else required. Oscar couldn't do it because Oscar's kind of more about himself. Oscar, in fact, is more about himself than Eddie Hearn is, if you ask me. Hearn just knows. I think we talked about it before, Russ. Eddie offers a service, right? When you sign with Eddie, you know you're going to get this much in terms of interviews, him in the media talking about you, and you buy that service. Like, Canelo's not mates with Eddie Hearn. He doesn't really care about Eddie. He just says, look, your job is to make me big in America. Your job is to make me big in the UK so I can get more money. If you can do that, you get a percentage. Fair's fair.
Yeah. Yeah. So you think he's just there as like a comedy act because he's a mouthpiece and he's loud and he's got following and that kind of thing?
Well, no. Look, I like to stick it to Eddie at the best of times, but I don't think it's a comedy thing. I think it's just good business. He's easily the most sort of fan-friendly of the promoters, let's be honest, right? Like, Oscar is all over the place. The drug issues are well known. Bob's 88 years old, wherever he is. Al Heyman, no one really sees. So then you're looking around going, what, Frank Warren? Nah, it doesn't work for Canelo. So I understand where it's coming from. I just think Hearn knows his position in this one. Like with Joshua, Hearn's a lot more visible. He's vocal. He's a bit more jokey. With Canelo, mate, it's all business because that's what Canelo is.
What do you think to the rumour going around that Eddie Renaso has been saying that he'd heard all these terrible things about Frank Warren, about fighters being not paid and all that and blah, blah, blah. Do you think that's come from Matchroom to Reynoso? Do you think they've been sticking knifing on Frank? I
think Eddie Reynoso could have read any British boxing YouTube videos comments and that would have come up somewhere, right? Like, it's not like it's a closed secret. I think most people know that was always the allegation leveled at Frank. But it's also worth saying that there are a lot of boxers who have been paid on time by Frank.
Yeah, and don't forget, Callum Johnson's just gone to Frank, and they were offered a massive deal, bigger deal than what Hearn were offering. So Frank's still biggest payer, isn't he?
Yeah, but look, this is what happens with Hearn. Hearn will offer you 3 fights, and you'll go, okay, Callum, you're going to do 3 fights, 80K, 90K, 105K. They're the 3 fights we're going to do for you. And then when it comes time to fight, he's just fucking, he almost picks opponents out of his backside. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So your hardest fight might be for 80K, your easiest fight for 105.
Yeah, I see what you mean. All right then, moving on. Billy Joe Canelo, I'm hearing it's still not signed. What do you think the hold-up is, or do you think they're going to do it at the presser?
So I don't think the only bumps in the road would be Billy Joe bumps in the road. You see what I mean? So I think one of the things they've had to do, and I think this makes sense, Canelo needs to see how the body feels because he fought in December and he fought in February. So he needs to have probably a couple of weeks rest, maybe 2.5 weeks, just to let the body rest. So you just tick over, a bit of jogging, light cardio. And then if he feels good and he feels sharp, I think it will just be announced, then it'll be signed. Or he might push it out. It just depends on how the body is. I think they just want to see how Canelo feels.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Do you think Billy Joe's got a chance in the fight? On a scale of 1 to 10, what chance would you give him?
4.
4, so that's not bad, is it? 60-40 then, yeah?
Yeah, so here's the thing, though. When you watch Billy Joe, like, Billy Joe loves guys he loves orthodox guys who are backhand dominant, right? So guys like Lemieux suit Billy Joe because they throw those big right hands, but he can see those coming. Yeah. Canelo's left-hand dominant, so he's attacking you on your lead side. So if Canelo can get the positioning to dominate on that lead hand side, he'll give Billy Joe a nightmare. I don't think Billy can take the onslaught that will come from Canelo. Because if you remember when he fought Eubank Jr., when Eubank Jr. sussed out how to box Billy Joe, and he put him under that pressure. Billy was hanging in there. So I'm like, I don't know if you can hang in there for 12 rounds against Canelo.
Billy Joe were hanging in there from after round 6, wasn't he, really? He looked like he'd blown his fuse, didn't he?
Yeah, so I'd be worried because Billy hasn't had a hard fight yet. Maybe the Andy Lee one at a push, but he hasn't really had a hard fight.
No, it reminds me of Roy Jones, you know, like and Callum Smith, they sort of like breezed through, didn't they, till they got to really, really, really elite level, didn't they? You know, breezed through world champions and, you know, top 5 guys and that, didn't they?
They were looked after on the way up,
yeah.
I think. Whereas if you compare like someone like Tava had to go the hard way, Tony had to go the hard way. So they were always that little bit tougher. And I think, you know, it's no disrespect to Roy, but I think you could see in the later careers who had the tougher schooling, because Roy kind of just fell off a cliff, whereas James Toney and Tava had a more gradual decline over time.
Do you feel that Billy Joe's career's sort of like gone the same way as Boatsi's, up to British level kind of thing?
No, and here's why. Billy could have been he could have had 5 or 6 elite level fights. Billy gets in Billy's way. Whereas with Joshua Boatsi, Josh Boatsi's literally there now saying, I want to fight. Like, what's going on here? I know there's some issues. Don't be surprised if you see him go over to America in the next couple of months or so. I think he just needs some time to clear his head and work out what's going on. I know the Joshua camp aren't happy with what's going on. And so there's a lot of pressure on Eddie to deliver for Josh Boatsi as well.
All right. While we're mentioning Boatsi, I was filming a couple of days ago at Joe Gallagher's gym. I did an interview with Joe, which should be out Sunday. We spoke about the Callum Johnson. He was there. He's a nice kid, Callum. He said yes twice to the Bivol fight and the Boatsi fight, and they never got back to him. They did for the Boatsi fight, the second one. They got back to him again and said, you're going to have to take half that money. And, you know, you'll see the interview with Joe Gallagher. He spoke pretty frank, pretty honest. I think it was a good interview. It was off cuff. It was just something I did off at the fly. There was nothing wrote down. And Joe's plays the game, doesn't he? He's an old stager now, isn't he?
Yeah.
So I did push it a little bit, but he tied me in knots, mate. It was like a cat playing with a ball of wool, mate. But we didn't edit anything out. It's just a quick, probably about, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes altogether in with intro and ending. But I enjoyed it over there, and he is such a good trainer. I was really impressed by him. I'm not saying that because I now get on with him. I just watched him in gym, and he don't miss a trick, you know. And me and my mate Frank, you know, Frank Smith from Bury, we sat and watched.
Yeah.
We were there an hour watching, and he's got his eyes on Natasha Jonas. I mean, obviously a boxing. Callum Johnson, he don't miss a trick, and I think Marcus Morrison and Butler had just left, and he can do it all at once. And there's a strength and conditioning there, and he's got it off to a T, mate. He's got it off to a T. Yeah. But that's experience, isn't it? It's experience, isn't it?
So what you can do, like I'm like this as well. I can be watching someone, but I can be listening to how the other kid's hitting the bag, and I can tell whether he's trying hard or not by how the bag's reacting.
Yeah.
Because I know how it's like, you know, you see a conductor in a symphony.
Yeah.
And he knows how every instrument's supposed to sound.
Yeah.
And it's like that in the gym. I know how it's supposed to sound when everyone's doing it right.
Yeah. Mark Tibbs is the same, you know. Mark Tibbs, he's same. He's like, see him over there, Porky. He only did 7 press-ups. Told him to do 10. I went, well, how did you spot that? Do you know what I mean? Because they're like that all the time, aren't they? But me and Frank were laughing at when he drove me back to Bury, and he said, you see Joe when he was going on about how we were watching one person and he's got mirrors around you because he rents Sammy Khan gym off him, and he was watching somebody else doing something and he spotted it. And I think that's amazing, maybe, because that with me, I'd be like, just keeping me on doing what I was doing. I won't be able to. But it's hard to do it, innit? But he's been at it years, hasn't he? He's 52. He's been around game, hasn't he, since he was a school kid, hasn't he? So
yeah.
You know, and I think he gets a lot of hammer, but we're talking about somebody here, Ring Magazine Trainer at year. So he's got to be given some respect, Annie, do you think?
So I did my podcast last week. If you're listening to this, you should go and listen to that. And I said the same thing. I said, if you look at Joe Gallagher, he was smart. And here's why Joe was smart. Joe looked at the fighters he had and he went, I'm not going to get these guys boxing like Harold Graham's. I'm not going to try. I'm going to take what they've got. I'm going to make it amazing, right?
Yeah.
You're going to be super fit, super strong. I mean, defense is going to be basic, but it's going to work 7 times out of 10.
Yeah.
And what that means is only the best people beat Gallagher fighters. Like if you're lazy, if you're mediocre, if you're all flesh and no substance and you come up against a Joe G fighter, you're going to get ground down. And I think he figured out that was his lane and he stuck to it and it's worked. But I think you have to believe in his methods. And maybe in earlier years, maybe some of those guys didn't necessarily believe in the Gallagher approach, but now they do.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously, yeah. Like I said, I was very impressed. It's funny, actually, because I get on all right with him now, but the first time I met Joe Gallagher to speak to, we were at weigh-in at Manchester, and I was stood with Robin Reed. Robin said, oh, Joe's over there. Are you going to go over? I said, yeah, I went over. And he was with Swifty Smith, young Stephen Smith. He's a nice kid, him. So how's it going, Joe? Are you all right? And that, and he never had time of day for me. I was going to say, oh, you've got the same trainers on as me, Joe, and Carl Frotch, you know, the Nike Air Force Ones. Because, you know, I had about 15 pair at once, and I had my white ones on. He had his white ones on. And Frotch had his ones on. He were getting changed. He'd just been weighed. This is backstage. And I was like,
I bet Carl Frotch had the black on black Air Force Ones. He looks like the sort of guy that would wear those.
No, they were white. They were white. But he's got that on at Lonsdale track. So, and I was like, all the way home. Joe Gallagher blew me off. Blew me away. Left me hanging is the word, should I say. But anyway, I pulled him about that. But like I said, it's boxing, isn't it? He's got to concentrate on his fighter. He don't want no 28-stone man with a, what do you weigh, 600 gram, that big chain with big anchor. Remember that big anchor chain I had? He didn't want me coming over in my big, massive puffer coat. I must have looked like Hulk Hogan, but fat version. Going over, you've got the same trainers on as me, Joe. Totally off my box. But obviously, now that I'm sober and that, he's all right. Listen, it's nice to go to a gym where they've got all top high-tech equipment, seeing everybody with a smile on their face. And that's Natasha Jonas. She's got a young kid upstairs. They've got like a seating area where they're all watching down and that. And she's doing her training sessions and that. And she's got a daughter there. And I think that's a great story, that, mate. And I think Matchroom have missed something there, you know, not pushing that, because the girl can fight. She's been to Olympics, and she's a fantastic pundit, isn't she, Terry, as well? And she looks $1 million. She looks $1 million, doesn't she? I was blushing, mate. I was like, oh.
I don't listen, mate. I don't get it. When I see Natasha Jonas, I see women's boxing in one image. Everything about Natasha Jonas is brilliant. Like, you know, the strong family. Like, if you ever see her on social media, she's really family oriented. Like, she's got, I don't know if she's a single mum or not, but she's definitely a mum in boxing.
Yeah.
She's still fighting, man. And like, look, based on her last performance, she's still got a lot in the tank. She speaks brilliantly about boxing. Like, they should have dragged her and said, instead of Terry Harper, we're building Sky Boxing around Natasha Jonas. This is our female boxing franchise here, Natasha Jonas. That's what I would have done.
Yeah, but it's not Terry Harper's fault that she's not as engaging as Natasha Jonas, is it? Or she hasn't got the pedigree.
But also, it comes with maturity. Like, Natasha Jonas is a grown woman. Look, she's a mum. She's confident in her identity. She knows who she is. Terry Harper's going through that process now. And maybe in 5 years, Terry will become that character. I'm not saying she can't. I'm just saying right now, no one does it better than Natasha Jonas. You know, because I look at these young kids, like I speak to young Ellie Scottney a lot. And I'm looking forward to watching her grow in the sport, because she's young, because I think Elle's like 22, 23. Yeah. But because she's been around so many old school characters in boxing, she's got that old school mindset, which I love. So when you talk boxing with Ellie, like, it's from that old school perspective.
Yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it over there. I'm going over again in a couple of weeks to see Stu Curry. Stu, I haven't forgot about you. I had to go see my pal Frank yesterday. And you know, when you're getting in traffic, I went from Bolton back to. Where did I go first that day? I forget now. My memory's that short. But I went to Bury. Oh, I went to Manchester, didn't we? The billboard's gone up on it. John Fury's Mickey Theo. That's gone up in Manchester. So
what's happened about that? Any word?
No, we've not heard a note from John Fury, but I believe he's brought a water drink out. Apparently, if you drink it, it's not called John Fury water drink. Is it called
Wilder Water?
No, people in the industry are calling it. It's not water. It's magic water. If you drink this, you'll grow big and strong and have a body like me. John Fury, fighting man. Look, don't fight. No, we did the billboard. Oh, we went up there. The billboard got put up. Mickey Theo came up with his sparring partners. Did a bit of filming there. That should be out in the next couple of days. And I went from Manchester to Bury. Went to Bury. I think I got a ticket in Bus Lane in Manchester. You know, like you do. And we went from Bury to Joe's in Bolton. Then you got to go back to Bury. I spent a bit of time with my pal Frank because he just lost his missus. And by the time I got from there, I couldn't get over to Salford because of traffic, and I've got to get home and get back here and blah blah blah. But I will be, Stu. I haven't forgot about you, Bart and ABC. I'll come and see you in a couple of weeks when your gym's open, and I'll do some filming. I might even bring a camera guy down with me and do a proper job on it. All right, Stu. I haven't forgot. But like I said, we're battling a lot of things, aren't we, in this lockdown too? We're trying to make the best of a bad job, aren't we, I suppose?
Yeah, look, and I know for a lot of people, boxing's been a salvation. So tomorrow, Yoka fights one of our guys, Big Joe Tambwe. So that's live on ESPN Plus if you guys want to watch. So Big Joe is in France now. The whole team, Mark Reigate, Big Linton, they've all gone out there to support. So I'm looking forward to that fight. A lot of people think Yoka's going to ice him, but I know from good sources that Joe did 12 rounds. Not his last sparring session was 12 solid rounds with Nick Webb and Tom Welsh, who's Scott Welsh's kid. So that went well. Didn't get put down, didn't get hurt. So I'm looking forward to a good performance tomorrow by Big Joe. And if Big Joe does perform really well, I think it's time for him to get a run at some of these British guys as well. Yeah.
I've heard a little whisper that Dennis looking at Nick Webb for Cash Ali. So
good fight. I think as a fight Cash should win.
Yeah, I do. But,
Nick's got the right hand, but if you can keep grafting and working, and if you can read when the right hand's coming, he almost nullify him. But good fight. If Dennis can pull that off, fair play to him.
Yeah, Dennis on comeback trail, eh?
Yeah, who's working with Sam Kinnick and all that. So I'll always wish Den the best, man. I
wish Dennis the best, don't we, Dennis?
Yeah, I want to see Den come back. He's one of those guys that put a camera in front of him, and you know what he's like. He just slips into that different gear, doesn't he, when the camera's in front, and then he becomes Den Hobson, the promoter.
Yeah, he's promoting something himself. Right. Does Yoka beat your mate? Yes or no?
I mean, you can't ask me that.
No. Why not, Terry? Don't be a company man on me. You hammer me for that.
Look, I'm going to back Joe because Joe's my guy, but everyone knows I think Yoka's special, so it's tough for me. Yeah. I think Yoka's special.
Very special.
But I have to back Joe because, like, I'm in the gym with Joe. Do you know what I mean? So, like, Friday, I'll be cheering on Joe. I want him to give the performance we know he can give, because what that does is win, lose, or draw. It opens up so many options for him. And that's what we want to get to. Because if he can run Yoka close in this fight, then why can't he call out people like Chisora? Chisora's not that far ahead of him.
Dave Allen told me that when he fought Yoka, said he hit him that hard and that many times that when they were coming back on Eurostar or Eurotrain, whatever it is, that tunnel thing, he says his head was ringing all the way home and for days after. He said he didn't think anybody could hit that hard. So Yoka is a big puncher, isn't he?
And the thing is I like about Yoka is he doesn't look like he is. Like, it's weird. You look at him and he's all narrow, like he's narrow in the shoulders. He's quite narrow and quite long, but he just seems to hurt people when he hits them. Like, it doesn't, like, the power doesn't make any sense. But listen, fair play to the guy.
Yeah. Taylor Ramirez. It's a hardcore's wet dream, Terry, isn't it?
Well, it's your wet dream, mate. Like, I'm happy they got the fight made. And I think I tweeted this yesterday, Russ. It goes to show that Top Rank can make fights quickly. Right? So when people talk about Fury Joshua not happening, you know it's not a Top Rank problem because they put their guys in there. I mean, Loma's done it. Loma's done a unification or an undisputed. Now Taylor and Ramirez are doing it. Bob does it. Like, so the holdup is not on the Top Rank side. Let's be clear about that.
What do you think about Bob Arum coming out and sticking it to Eddie Hearn, more or less saying, look, it's all done. They don't know why is there an hold-up and all that kind of thing. What do you think about that?
So my theory is this, right? The fight will be announced when Joshua thinks he's ready. And we've talked about this on your show before, Russ. He's got the tall sparring partners in, right? Yeah. And I think they're trying to work on a game plan for dealing with those guys. So I think when they feel ready, then they'll say, right, it's on. But they're both going to have fights before they fight each other. It's not happening this year. It just doesn't make sense for it to happen this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. So do you think Fury Joshua is going to happen, or do you think they're all jostling for position, trying to save face with media? Because the media are not really getting on at them. I ain't seen Gareth Davis. You know, I like Steve Bunce. I'm not seeing him make any noise. Ron Lewis, IFL, Boxing Social. Nobody's saying to him, why are you... This is what I'd say. I'd say, Eddie Frank, if I could get them all in the room, I'd say, why are you lot saying this is a done deal, 99% done, and 2-fight deal, and blah, blah, blah. You've been saying it since last June. We've had it every day since June. Why are you doing this to fans? Why are you doing this? Why? That's what I'd want to know. Why? But nobody's asking the word. Why the bullshit? Andy Terry, what do you think?
Oh, well, first swear word of the day.
No, I don't get paid for this one, though.
Mate, you know what? Just get him to bleep it out.
Yeah, well, I'll get a 20 quid bill for taking a swear word out to get 4 quid YouTube ad money. That's good business sense, isn't it? No wonder we chat. Go, sorry.
Man, so here's... I've even forgot what I was going to say, Porky.
Yeah, go on. You want about Bob Arum, won't we? I want to say, why are you saying this?
Yeah, I've got it. So look, they have to keep the story in the news. So every so often they're going to drop this thing like it's been agreed, and then next month we'll hear we're looking at 3 or 4 venues. They'll drag it out. But what's going to happen realistically is Tyson's going to fight someone else in the meantime. There's no question about that. And Joshua's going to fight someone else in the meantime because Joshua, regardless of how much he makes, Joshua can't fight once a year. Like, his business model won't sustain it. Yeah. So when you strip it all away, Russ, if we're being honest, this fight's not happening till next year at the earliest for me.
What do you think about that quiet rumour doing the rounds amongst the chosen few? See, this is why my channel's fantastic, in it, because nobody says what I say. The quiet rumour doing the rounds around the heavyweight circle around Tyson Fury is that he's got 2 fights left with Bob Arum, and Arum wants them both to be Joshua fights because they reckon that Tyson might jump over to Matchroom. What do you think to that? And would Tyson, after everything that's gone on in his career and everything he's said about Eddie Hearn, would he jump to Matchroom?
I think Top Rank have been fantastic for Tyson Fury. I don't think Tyson would be the star he is. And at this point, you've got to thank all the sort of publicity guys behind that who've helped guide Tyson. And, you know, we've got our own lady here, Melissa, who does a lot of the PR for Top Rank, and she's been fantastic. You know, just knowing what happens behind the scenes there. They've done a lot of work to build Tyson Fury. And I think if you're an honorable man like Tyson says he is, if he's about loyalty like he likes to say he is, you do the Joshua fights between Top Rank and Matchroom, because that's the only way you're not going to get shafted.
Yeah. So
Fury's not stupid.
So basically, he'd have Top Rank for America, Eddie Hearn for UK, like winning a pay-per-view.
No, I'd have Top Rank full stop. I mean the only other option is to go with Al Heyman.
So you don't think that he'd get rid of Aram?
For what? Well, who are you going to replace Aram with?
Well, why hasn't Aram offered him a top-up on his 2-fight deal? Because Eddie Hearn usually does when they get down to the last 2 fights, he tops them up, doesn't he, an extra few years?
Maybe he doesn't have to, Russ. It might be like, look, if I get you a purse above this much money, it renews for another 2 fights. Bob might be relaxed. But he's also been, if you notice this, Russ, fell out with Crawford, falling out with Teofimo Lopez, seemingly all over money. So maybe he'll fall out with Fury over money. No one knows what goes on. You know, maybe when you get to your 80s, man, your marbles start to go and you don't care about anything.
What boxers has Bob Arum fell out with that were bigger than Fury? I can name 2 now. Floyd, Oscar.
Yeah.
Miles bigger than Fury or Joshua ever were. As big as Canelo is now, those 2. And they left Arum, didn't they?
Yeah, but Bob didn't want them to leave.
Didn't he? Maybe he didn't want Fury to leave.
Yeah, but remember, those 2 left to set up their own things.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Let's see what Fury does. But unless you go and set up your own kind of, like Joshua's got AJ boxing, unless you do Fury boxing, which would make sense, right? Because then you kind of have the Fury family, and maybe there's a reconciliation, and you have Huey, Tyson, and Tommy under one banner. I don't know, but I don't see why you'd leave Top Rank right now when they're delivering for their guys.
Okay. Well, he's got 2 fights left with Bob Arum anyway, but Bob Arum, from what I'm hearing, wants them both to be Joshua fights. Like you just said earlier, everything's all done from his side of effect, isn't it? Is the problem lying with Eddie Hearn? Why the fight ain't made?
Well, Hearn's got his own issues, right? So Hearn's trying to get that juicy contract with Sky. He's also probably looking at his percentage with DAZN and saying, well, look at what I'm doing for you guys. I need a bigger percentage because I'm basically holding down DAZN boxing on my own here. So Hearn's probably everyone's playing a game here, and they know that this is the ultimate carrot to dangle in front of people. So no one's rushing into this fight until their financial position is secure.
Yeah. All right then. Well, while we're on top end at page, I might as well talk about this. Tommy Fury 5-0. That's 2 wins against 2 guys, Norton 20. If you had the records together, he's accepted a Jake Paul fight. They're pushing it on social media now. What do you think about that?
Hell of a fight. Hopefully that's on pay-per-view, and we can all get to enjoy it. You see, Russ, this is what happens when everyone thinks they can get involved in boxing. And this is at every level, right? Yeah. You've got people in the comments, you've got people tweeting, and they always say, no one's got a right to exclude me from what I want to do in boxing, right? You get that. You also get these ex-PTs from Fitness First who want to become boxing trainers. And so they say, no one's got the right to stop me getting involved in training fighters. So I'm just going to do it anyway. Fine, okay. Yeah, everyone allowed this to happen. And then now you've got people saying, listen, I'm just going to get involved in boxing. I bring 20,000 fans. I bring 1 million pay-per-view buys. Who the hell's going to stop me? And that's what you have with Jake Paul. You have a guy who is his own business, and whether boxing wants to accept him or not, he can lace on a pair of gloves and fight, and people will watch him. And there's nothing anyone can do to stop them watching him.
Yeah.
And so maybe Frank's now come into the 21st century and gone, we can build this fight into something bigger than anything we've had amongst our real boxers. Do you see what I mean? So boxing fans have a decision to make. If you want the sport to go back to what it was, a hard sport where only the best of the best could do it, cool. But you also have to understand, as fans, you've got to also then say, actually, we hold everything to a high standard. Because if you just want to just be of the attitude of, oh, well, anyone can do anything at any time, you can't be mad about this fight.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll get paid, won't they? That kid's got 50 million followers or something like that. He's massive, isn't he, that Jake Paul? Massive.
Mate, why don't you send him your videos?
I don't want to piggyback on the back of that crap. I couldn't do it, mate.
Mate, send him your videos, yeah, because he's got 50 million followers, Porky. And
I don't like him anyway. If I ever see him, I'll take him down. I'll put him in a headlock. I don't want him.
Paul?
I'll take him down, man, and rough him up.
But so just a bit of insight for the guys listening and tuning in. So his trainer, a guy called Milton, is out in Miami, and he was saying, we were messaging each other via social media. He was saying Jake's been training solidly for 2 years, training, sparring. Like he said, look, if you put Jake on the circuit now, you could build him up as a credible boxer. Like we're past the point of calling Jake Paul a YouTuber. Maybe with Logan Paul, maybe with KSI, you can say it. Jake Paul has been training solidly for 2 years, and then all the years before that, where he was kind of just sort of playing at it, he can actually box.
Oh, do you think? Oh, sorry, go on.
So, at what point do we say that he's no longer a YouTuber and he's actually a credible boxer? We're going to get to that point in the next couple of years, guys, because we can't keep saying, "Oh, he's just a YouTuber." If he's dedicating himself to training solidly for 2 years.
Do you feel that Eddie Hearn will get blamed if all this blows up in everybody's faces?
Nah. This has been, the writing's been on the wall for a long time. Like, this isn't even something Hearn created. If you remember, like the KSI, I think it was KSI Logan Paul won that fight. That happened, and everyone in boxing ignored it, right? And they sold out the Copper Box, if I remember correctly. And then they did maybe 1 million streams on YouTube. I mean, they were making money. They didn't. That's what I said. The YouTubers don't need boxing to make money, right? They don't. The reason boxing's involved is it's an ego thing. It's so they can say that they're real boxers. That is it. They do not need boxing.
Yeah. All right then. But Eddie was one of the first ones to put them sort of shows on, wasn't he? Really?
No, I'll come back to this point, Russ. They were doing the shows without boxing. All Hearn said was, this might be a way for us to get subscribers. Hearn doesn't care about them. He wants their fans. Because if you look, Russ, what's the average age of a boxing fan? 37, 38?
34 on my channel. Well, you know, on analytics, yeah. 25 to 35, is it? To 34 or something? You know, that's okay. Sort of...
Now, those guys like KSI, Logan Paul, they bring in that kind of 16 to 25 demographic.
Yeah.
And that's what you need. Like, to keep boxing going, you need those guys to be
extra. You mean the extra fans coming in, yeah?
Yeah.
I see where it's a good business model. I mean, Eddie will be surrounded by... He'll have better equipment than us to check, you know, because everybody who subscribes to my channel, all the details come up, don't they? And their age and if they share it and all that. He'll know more about it than me, won't he, Eddie? Because he pays people, doesn't he, to manipulate.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right then. So if Tommy Fury, Jake Paul happens, will you be over at moon about it? Will Frank Warren put it on? Should I say?
Frank will. I can see it happening over here, subject to COVID, obviously. And I think you and I will be in the crowd, Porky.
Yeah. Sat with Mickey Theo.
Yeah. No, but I can see you just doing your interviews there, your Porky's Corner. You'll actually have a corner in the arena. That will be Porky's Corner.
Well, John Fury's got me strung up.
Yeah, listen here. And that Dennis Hobson blowjob.
It persecuted us for 400 years. I'm the best. I'm X-rated. Right, DAZN and Sky. The date's coming closer to the Sky making a decision, Terry. Are they going to keep Eddie Hills, or are they going to get rid of him and share the slots?
So I think they'll keep him, but I think they'll open up the platform.
Yeah.
I don't see how Sky can do it any other way. I think Eddie's less worried because it's not going to be Frank. I think MTK will now start to say, well, you know, we've kind of delivered and we've shown what we can do on YouTube. So let us come in on Sky. I can see that happening. But I can also see Eddie then saying, well, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have some matchroom shows where I just let the small hall promoters put their guys on.
Yeah. All right. BT Sport, is Frank on the rack after that performance at the weekend, that show? Is he in trouble, or is it just a few TV problems because of lockdown and all that?
So I might be wrong on this. Wasn't that the original Frampton date?
Yeah.
Right. So the Frampton fight falls through no fault of Frank's, and then Leon Woodstock, which would have been a good fight against Kakashi. Leon Woodstock falls ill with COVID. Nothing you can do. So what do you do then? Do you bin off the show and then stop kids like Aiden Muhammad? Yes, Aiden Muhammad. Sorry, yeah. Do you stop kids like him making their debut? After training in the gym for a whole year. I don't know what you do. I think he did the right thing in letting the show go. That was definitely a hardcore show that there wasn't much in the way of name brand recognition, but you got to see kids like Aiden Muhammad make his debut, and it was a good debut. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for my friend Donald Smith, who's his trainer. And so really that's the reason I watched the show. I watched it to watch that debut. It wasn't a great show, but we also need to remember as boxing fans, not every show is going to be amazing.
He's done well for him, that Donald Smith, hasn't he?
Yeah, man, he's invested a lot of his time. I know Don's been through some bumpy times, so I was happy to see him, show what he can do as a trainer.
All right. Yard, Arthur, and Callum Johnson all under the same banner now. Do you see him having a round robin? Because Frank's not been frightened to put 50-50s on all tough fights this year for his lads, has he? Dubois and Yard have had 50-50s.
So I don't think Johnson needs those two fights yet. I'd like to see Johnson in with like a Kovalev. That's what I'd like to see at the moment. Let Callum Johnson jump in with Kovalev. If he wins the belt, let him have a defense. And then if that doesn't go well, there'll be a time for Callum to sell his name when he has to. But right now, I still think there's enough juice in Callum Johnson that, he could still make a world title run. I think Frank just needs to focus on that. Yard Arthur need to take care of each other before they worry about Callum Johnson. But I'd just like to see them all being more active.
Callum Johnson against Yard, and Callum Johnson against Kovalev there, and Lyndon Arthur against any of them four with Kovalev. They're what we want to be doing this for, aren't we? Them sort of fights, aren't they? And Callum Johnson will fight
not necessarily. Like Callum Johnson's a level above those guys.
Just saying they're fights we want to see, though, aren't they? Them sort of fights.
Not Lyndon versus Kovalev. He's not ready for that yet. You look what happened to Yard.
Yeah, but if he beats Yard in next fight, Lyndon Arthur, he's there, isn't he?
Not Kovalev. And here's what I keep saying. For Lyndon Arthur to fight Kovalev now, right? It would take everything he has plus a lot more. Like the victory wouldn't be worth the price he'd have to pay afterwards. You let Lyndon Arthur get a few more fights under his belt, which not necessarily mentally mature, but mature as a boxer. Then you fight someone like a Kovalev. Now it takes less out of you. So you want to always. That's why timing these fights is important. Yeah. Because, and I remember hearing the story about Isaac Dogbo sparring Carl Frampton. I was talking to Shane about this one, and for Carl Frampton sparring a young kid like Isaac Dogbo, who was about 18, is no big deal for Carl because he has experience. But what happened was Isaac went so hard that Carl had to discipline him in the ring and go, no, I'm the top dog here. But those sorts of things took years of Isaac's career. Do you see what I mean? Those sorts of wars weren't good for him. And so he had to learn that you've got to pick and choose your moments to be the hero.
Good. I like Anthony Yard as well, though. What do you think will happen to him if he loses against Lyndon Arthur in rematch?
Wow, yeah. I think it's tricky at that point. I don't know what you do. It's not like boxing's closed to you, but that elite circle, those guys are Marcus Brown, Dimitri Bivol, they suddenly become very distant to you. So it's a fight that he can't afford to lose. It's a fight that Arthur could probably lose and come back from, but Yard definitely can't lose that one.
All right. Dylan White, Povetkin in Gibraltar. What do you think to that, Terry? His tail wagging dog.
No, I think it makes sense, right? Because Povetkin was having travel issues getting in as well. So I think what's probably switched the balance, Porky, was everyone had to do the 10 days in the hotel.
Yeah.
Had they not had to do the 10 days in the hotel, had they been able to isolate at the Wembley venue, then it's easier, right? Because you've got your testing protocols. You can make sure everyone's negative.
Yeah.
So I understand why the UK wasn't an option. And then all of a sudden you say, okay, if we can't do the UK, but we still want to be kind of under UK jurisdiction, we can go to Gibraltar, and like there's less tax to pay in Gibraltar. So I think everyone kind of wins.
There's a snooker tournament over there on that week as well, isn't there? Or just before, there's a snooker tournament. Well, Barry Earns snooker tournament in Gibraltar. Stephen Andrews' comeback as well, isn't it?
So no, he came back. He lost. So
I know, but
he might have a second comeback.
He's in the tournament in Gibraltar, though, isn't he? I've just seen it on YouTube this morning. It might have been a week-old visit, a week-old video or something. So, but there is a tournament in Gibraltar that week. All right then. Gareth A. Davis, is he pinching a living in boxing, masquerading as a boxing ringside expert?
Listen, there are a lot of these clowns in the sport at the moment, man. They're trainers, some are boxers, some are journalists, some are YouTubers, some are podcasters. There are a lot of clowns in boxing, just a lot of clowns. And they just love being around hard men. That's it. Oh, I'm around these hard men. Wumpty wumpty way. So there are a lot of these clowns. But because boxing is such a cozy setup, no one calls them out for being bluffers and blaggers and whatever. No one does. They're clowns, basically. He's one of them. He hasn't been relevant in terms of boxing for a long time. Like the young kids coming up don't know about Gareth A. Davis and they don't care about him. And like these guys, boxing would just see them off to pasture at some point. I'm sure of that.
What do you think about every time there's like a world title fight on? If he's spent time with the fighter before on, like Joshua or Fury or Billy Joe or Devin Haney, Gareth A. Davis always seems to say, well, yeah, I told him about this and that. He always seems to exert himself as like the matchmaker or the guy to go to about how to throw a jab or something. And yet I've just spoke to him. And do you think he's just like one of them guys, a bit like Eddie Hearn, that likes to put himself in the mix for a bit of reflected glory? I don't know. What do you think?
It just smacks of insecurity, Russ. That's what it does. It smacks of insecurity. And that's what boxing's full of, insecurity. He's just another one of the clowns as far as I'm concerned.
You know, what were the girl's name who we were on the video with? She
Ebony Bridges.
She was fully clothed though, wasn't she? Obviously, but
yeah.
She. Do you think
another clown?
Yeah,
they're all clowns.
He didn't do himself any favors with that video, did he? I mean, it was all a bit. Did he forget that he would actually filming that? Because it was his channel, wasn't it? That I couldn't. And another thing that bothers me with him, I remember him handing some stick out to people who do podcasts and YouTube. You know, this was a few years ago. And he's got a YouTube channel himself now, hasn't he?
Russ, they all used to laugh at us. Do you remember this? Like, what are these podcasts? Who does a podcast? And all these guys were laughing. Even guys at Frampton would laugh at the idea of a podcast. And they all jumped on the wave. Oh, I'm going to do one. But the thing is now, I think it's dawned on them that they're never going to make a successful living doing this. So a lot of these podcasts have risen and fallen. Like Peter McDonough, I feel sorry for him. Like, I don't think his did great numbers, but he's an interesting guy in terms of boxing. And here's the thing these guys in boxing don't understand. What it takes to be interesting behind a microphone is completely different to what it takes to be interesting in the ring. You're not good. It's unlikely you're going to be good at both.
All right, then. I'm just going to throw some names at you and I want you to give me a quick couple of minutes on each one. Craig Richards, what next?
Great kid, tough kid. You could put him in with anyone. He wouldn't disgrace himself. I'm not...
Send me some free ones. The £3.50 petrol station, these. Go on, mate. Sorry.
So there's Spider, great kid. super talented. Never shirked a fight in his life. As tough as they come. Never misses a day in the gym. Put him in with Bivol, wouldn't have an issue with that. Put him in with Callum Johnson, wouldn't have an issue with that. And Eddie would do that because I don't think he cares too much about Craig. So Craig, I think, is one of those guys you respect in the sport for being proper. He's just a proper fighter. That's how I describe Craig Richards.
I like his leather jackets he wears.
You know what? He actually said, like, well, I remember when he was younger, he used to talk about this guy that he modeled his fashion sense on, this guy called Porky. We didn't even know who he was then. So Craig shows up with a 1,200-gram chain with a big pig on the bottom of it.
You're a ball breaker, you Terry, aren't you? Chris Eubank Jr., what next? Because he's very inactive.
He will do whatever he wants, man. He probably doesn't even need the money. I mean, he's this new breed of boxer where it's just nice to box without it necessarily burning inside of him. So we'll see. Like, I think give him a relatively soft reintroduction fight, and then, man, he could go at anyone. He could legitimately go. If you think about this, right? What he did to a fresher Yildirim, a fresher, more active Yildirim, was more impressive than what Canelo did to this version of Yildirim. So you can, I mean, if you want to get in the forums and have that discussion, you can argue Eubank's performance was better. And actually, maybe Eubank would give Canelo trouble.
Yeah. All right, then. John Ryder, what next?
Put him in with Eubank. It'd be a hell of a fight.
Yeah, I was thinking that other day. That should be an easy one to make, isn't it? Because the Eddie Hearn's sidekick, Frank Smith, with the spots. He, I don't want to get him confused with Frank Smith from Bury, my close pal. Frank Smith with the spots is getting married to Emily Eubank, and her brother. There's not with Eddie Hearn, but surely they could put that on with Ryder, couldn't they?
Mate, that, like we said before, that'd just be a really weird wedding, won't it? Like, after all the stuff Hearn has said about the Eubanks, imagine all being at the same wedding. No. Imagine all being at the same stag do.
I know, Eubank, we've seen him walking around with thespian, he's a thespian. All right then. Lerone Richards. I know you like Lerone Richards. What next for him, Terry?
He's a good kid. I think Lerone's issues, actually, I think, haven't they got him going for a European title at the moment? But he hasn't given us that signature win where we can say we want to see him in with a Caleb Plant or we want to see him in with a Benavidez. He hasn't given us that. So actually, they've just got to build him. So hopefully, being with Dave Caldwell, they'll build him the right way. But he's running out of time, man. Remember, Lerone's been a professional since, 2013? Mm. He's not a young pup.
Yeah. Do you think Caldwell has sat him down and said, look, you need to kick on now?
Well, he could have kicked on a long time ago, but fights were getting turned down. From what I hear, there were certain fights that Lerone's side didn't want. And not even from a trainer perspective. It was like him and his family didn't want fights, or they were demanding too much money for certain fights. You know, and that's why he left to go to Caldwell. He believed he should be paid more. Maybe Matchroom have guaranteed him that. I don't know. But he was, he could have had a lot of fights before, man. Remember, he was meant to fight Umar Sadiq before Sadiq fought Chudinov. So the fights could have happened, Russ.
Yeah. All right. O'Hara Davis. What next?
Man, he's just going to live off that golden contract money, isn't he? So I don't think he's too stressed out. He's won the golden contract. It's now on MTK to provide him with opponents so they can get their money back. So O'Hara will stay busy. He'll stay buying properties. And he's one of those guys I keep saying, you'll never see him out of shape. You'll never see him not active. So, I mean, he's ready for whatever, whenever.
He's a nice kid, actually, O'Hara. So I've met him.
Yeah, he's such a nice kid. And, you know, when people see the videos he does and the stuff that he says and they go, I hate O'Hara Davis. When you see O'Hara Davis at a show, you get to speak to him for 5 minutes and he'll give you 5 minutes. You actually, what a nice kid he is.
Yeah, nice kid. Conor Benn, David Anisha. Conor Benn says he'll take that fight.
I think he'd do better against Evanesian than Josh Kelly did.
Yeah.
Because at least Conor will take something out of Evanesian. Like, Conor sets a pace you got to keep up with. It'll be tough for him, but it comes back to what I just said about Lyndon Arthur fighting Kovalev. That fight will take more out of Conor Benn in winning than it would out of Avanesian in winning. Do you see what I mean? It will require a lot more of Conor Benn's soul to win that fight. And is that a price he wants to pay this early in his career? That's only he knows the answer to that.
Yeah. The EIS at Sheffield, are they going to change it all, Terry, so it's a bit evenly balanced for everybody? You know, instead of Lawrence Okoli up there and all Joshua's fighters, Boatsi, and it's for amateurs. Do you think that'll get somebody will nick that in bud in next year or so?
So I don't even think Okoli's been up there for ages, to be honest with you. I don't think a lot of those guys have been up there for ages.
He's been busy with his book, hasn't he?
It's a great book, great read. Yeah, everyone should go out there and buy it. Like, I'm waiting for the Porky book.
Oh, well, that'll be a bestseller.
Yeah, Porky's Rules on Surviving in the Pig Pen.
Porky knows best. That's about it, Terry. We've more or less done an hour. So, nearly 60 minutes with Terry. What you got planned for the rest of the day?
Mate, all I'm going to be doing, I've got some exercises I need to do. Like I said, now that Big Joe's in France, there's no real training required for anyone. So gym will be closed. Big Joe will, I guess I'll just be warming up now, man. The weigh-in happens today. And then it's all go tomorrow. So that's really my focus at the moment, is just, checking in on the guys and that. And then just some stuff I need to do around the house.
Are you doing any training today, Terry? Yourself?
Yeah. 100 pull-ups, 100 sit-ups. I'm going to try working on my human flag. I mean, I'm going to come on, Porky, man. This is me, I always try and get it in. I need to get that back like yours. You know how you got that 82-inch chest? I need to get that.
I'm just about to, what you just said there? I'm just about to do a Paul Dillett back and biceps workout in gym next door.
Yeah, well, look, to be honest, I think you're one of the few people who's probably more genetically gifted than Paul Dillett.
Have you seen the state of him now?
He's skinny.
Looks a right mess, doesn't he?
Well, you know what? That just goes to show what genetics can do, because he's not a naturally big guy, but he just responded well to the gear.
Is that what it were?
Some people. So here's the thing. So here's what they don't tell you about the drugs, right? You can have really good genetics naturally, like just be like 6'5", 19 stone walking around. You could take steroids and they could do very little for you, right? You could be 6'1" and 9 stone. Take gear and you could get up to 20 stone because your body just reacts that well to it. So there are all of these variables that kick in.
Yeah. Like Mickey Theo, he ended up 23 stone at one point. He's only
How tall is Mickey Theo?
He's about my height, I think, 5'9".
Yeah, because he doesn't look like a big guy. And I'm like, you're calling out John Fury as small as you are.
I've seen him spar 6'6", 6'8" guys in gym.
But the guys that can fight, though, is it just big guys?
Oh, it looked to me like they could fight. And I don't know. Well, can John Fury fight? He's 57-year-old.
Yeah, John Fury can fight. Yeah, listen, I've seen him dominate car parks before.
Oh, we're going to see, aren't we? Because it's looking a little bit more promising after the other day. So we're going to see what happens.
Is it?
Yeah, apparently.
Okay.
Oh.
You love your billboards, though, Porky. You love your billboard.
I'm not.
You know what? It's like the US love their Hellfire missiles. You love your.
Well, it's not what you know; it's who you know, isn't it? That's why nobody wants to take me on, because if I can't face them, I'll ruin them in other ways.
So that's why you're maybe the scariest man in boxing right now.
The pen is mightier than the sword. I'm capable of putting anything on a billboard if I want, just making a phone call, but I'm not going to do that. It has to be something worthwhile. There's got to be something in it for everybody. Everybody's got to eat. But it is what it is, isn't it? So, but I just hope they fight and then shake hands afterwards, because that's what it's all about, isn't it, Terry? If you've got a bit of beef with somebody, get it out of your system and move on.
But they're old men from different parts of the country. What's the beef they've got with each other? I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you beef, shall I? Mickey's sat in his house. Obviously, he's in a good position in life, and he says watching YouTube, flicking through, and he says this video come up. It's John Fury saying, "I'm the best man in the world over 50. I'll fight anybody over 50." So Mick spoke to this guy who was training him, and he trains every day religiously. It's like a drug to him. And he says, "What do you think?" He says, "Yeah, I think you could do all right." So Mick said, "I'll accept your challenge, John, because this is where the waters are getting a bit muddy. I know we all have banter and crack, and we all get emotional and irate and that, but John Fury said he will fight any man over 50. So Mickey Theo accepted. So this is to all the John Fury followers and Porky haters. So Mick said, "Yeah, I'll fight it." So they arranged a date, had the posters done, May the 28th. After that, the goalposts kept getting moved. I've seen the correspondence. The goalposts kept getting moved, whether it were to venues, dates, undercards, the split, what we're going to charity. Then it were a bare knuckle from the Queensberry rules. Then it were an exhibition. Then it went for charity. Enough to give anybody an headache, a bit like what we've got now with Tyson and Joshua. So that's where it all started to fall apart, because what happens is too many cooks spoil the broth. I mean, John said Mick had a book coming out. That's not true. Mick hadn't got a book coming out. And it just kept getting moved and moved and moved. And I think it just wound him up. And looking at it from outside, it wound me up as well. Because, well, I know certain things. I'm not going to go into deep about it, but they need to fight, right? Because too much has gone on now. You can't just come out and say, "Be up here tomorrow in this ring, 10 o'clock, or you can have it in the ring, Queensberry rules, or on the hard road." You can't just do that and expect somebody to drop everything and go up there on your patch, because A, nobody fights for nothing, and John don't fight for nothing, let me tell you. And B, as NHS and mental health going to get anything out of the job if they're just going to have a tear-up-in gym? And Billy Joe shouldn't be coming out with, "Let's get it on my property" and all that, as if somebody's going to go to somebody else's back garden. Why didn't they go back to the original plan when Spencer Brown, John's agent, manager, whatever he is, were arranging the original fight, which was May the 28th. Queensberry rules at a venue. Obviously, we've got COVID now, but as soon as this COVID's gone, this fight's going to have to be on, mate. Because if not, how can John Fury show his face in the travelling community and be known as a fighting man? Because he don't fight, does he? He's been out of jail 6 years. He ain't had a fight. He says he loves to fight. We just love it. But he ain't had a fight. He's been out 6 years, and he went to jail, and that wasn't for a fight, was it? That wasn't for a fight. But point I want to make is he hasn't fought for nearly 30 years. And I've seen him fight. I saw him fight Neil Malpass from Doncaster, and he got beat. So I've seen him fight, and I've seen Mick spar. And I think he probably make John a favourite, an experience, but as regards fitness levels and general, I don't know, agility, speed or whatever, I'd make Mick a favourite in that fight. But you can't go around shooting your mouth off saying you're the best of a man over 50 and then not back it up, can you? He's got to do it for his family honour, for his family name. Look at James Quinn, you know, the fighting man from Ireland.
Yeah.
James Quinn said he's got to do it for his family name now, because he would do it for his family name. Now, he's a proper fighting man. You can't put yourself in that bracket if you're not going to back it up. I have a problem with that. I ain't got a problem with John personally. I actually get on all right with John when I've met John the 7 or 8 times I've met him. He's always been all right with me, but that cheesed me off. And this Mickey Theo guy, he's a pretty genuine guy, you know, pretty genuine guy. He's generous, he's honest, he's very popular, got a lot of people that like him, got a lot of sponsors, he's done very well for himself. He just wants to fight him, or he wants John to say, look, let's forget all about it, I don't want to fight him, let's move on. But you can't just, for example, you can't just say, let's fight in the gym tomorrow in Manchester. If Mick comes out now and says, get down here, John, to Club KO Gym, Queen's Road, Buckhurst, Essex. Be here tomorrow at 10 o'clock. No Lollopant Gym. Bring all you want. Let's get at it. And if you don't turn up, John, it's done. You can't do things like that, Terry. You know that. They've got to fight.
Is he training at Club KO?
He used to own Club KO. He sold it to Noel. So
Okay, because who trains out there? Isn't that where
Jimmy McDonald?
Terry Stewart.
He takes fighters down there. Dean White takes fighters down there. So everybody in that gym, they all know him. Joe Colt, footballer, trains in there. Look, them Essex boys down there, they all know what's going on. And Tyson Fury's been down there when Mickey owned that gym to spar Mark Potter. So Mick actually has met him. He met him, Peter. He's close friends with Kerry Cage because he's from bodybuilding world. So they need to fight. But somewhere along the lines, there's been a lot of shit spoke, haven't there? John Fury and his son Tyson, they've got the platforms to say anything, right? And it can be known as gospel. It's like Eddie Hearn. He drowns everybody out on all his social media, doesn't he? The truth gets drowned out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I know that because I've been in his company before. And I've heard things just come out and I thought, oh, so that's how they do it. They just drowned you out. Well, John can drown anybody out because he's got a big following, hasn't he, because of his son. Mick's a quiet guy. He just said, look, John, I'll fight you. I shouldn't have to come to Manchester. Let's do it. Let's arrange it all and let's get it filmed and get it on a platform and let's get some money out of the job and let's donate something to charity and let everybody eat off it, even the undercard. Instead of this, on hard road tomorrow in Manchester. We can all say that, can't we? And if you don't turn up, it's over. Look, he shot his mouth off. He's got to back it up. It's as simple as that. That's just how I feel about it. And I tell Don that to his face. I won't be bothered about it. What's he going to do to me? That ain't already been done in my 50 year. He can't do no to me.
Wait, hold on. Lennox Lewis is over 50.
Well, there you go. But he's on about, I think John were on about people in general. But then again, didn't he call out at a press conference? Mike Tyson, David A, Dana White, Deontay Wilder, Tony Bellew, you name it, he's called them out, hasn't he? But Mickey Theo said, you know what? I'll accept your challenge. So he's accepted John's challenge. We're being a man over 50, and he's older than John as well, mate. And then since then, the waters have all got muddied with social media and John's statement nipping it in the bud. Like they nipped that 7 million to charity in the bud. You can't question people with big followings like that because they could just shut you down. But you know, don't you, John? You know what was said and what was said between your manager and Mick, because I've read it all. So we all know it. Go on.
Can I be honest, Russ? Here's what I think's happened, right?
No.
I think John Fury's just playing up to the John Fury image on camera, on IFL or whatever. He's playing the character. Then you've got someone in the real world like Mickey Theo who's gone, all right, yeah, I'll have that row.
Yeah.
But the thing is, John's like, yo, I was just saying that for TV. Like, I mean, like, you don't do fights on social media in that way. And so I think wires have got crossed, but then egos and pride have got in the way. Now everyone's in a position where they can't really back out from.
No, they can't. And you know what I'm like, Terry? I've got a bit of OCD. I have to see things through, don't I, mate? And I'll see this through. I will see it through. Who's going to stop me? Dennis couldn't do nothing with me up there. We used to be at it like cat and dog, but he couldn't do nothing with me. He couldn't do nothing with me. Nothing. He couldn't say anything to me because I don't need him for anything, do I? Other people might do, or they might need certain people. I don't. I can just say, F off, and I have done many a time. As you know, I left Dennis in Leeds, drove off in his brand new 70 grand car. So get train on, lad. That's what I'm like. I wear my heart on my sleeve. It don't mean to say I don't like him. The point is, if I think I'm in the right and something's just not right, you know what? I'm like sat there, and like Dennis is like, go wait, eat car while I have a word with IBF. I goes, no, I'm not waiting in car. I've ordered a sticky toffee pudding. And he give me that look, you know, that look, a little tap under, give me a tap under the table. I thought, all right. I went and got in his car, went on. So, the point I want to make is that if Dennis can't do no with me, John Fury ain't going to do no with me. You know, they could try everything trying to shut my channel down. Let me just say this, right? Somebody emailed me bragging off about, we're going to get your channel shut down. So let me tell you this. On your YouTube channels, there's a button that you press and it says, not for kids. You press that, you can say and do what you want, more or less, all right? Within reason. These videos are all checked before they go out. I've still got all my lives, and I will always have all my lives on YouTube. Nobody's going to shut this channel down. Nobody, so you can keep trying and doing what you want. We're going nowhere. And if we do get shut down, we'll just start another one up in somebody else's name. So get over it. We're here to stay, Porky's Corner. and we love boxing, but we also like what's right and fair. All right, I like things to be fair, and if you shoot your mouth off, you've got to be prepared to back it up. One of the biggest reasons that I walked from Dennis. I went, no, this isn't for me. And it's not all Dennis's fault. It's the boxing industry as a whole. And it broke my heart, mate. But let me tell you this. When you work with somebody every day of a 5 year, and you hear that much crap, yeah, we're going to be doing this, we're going to be doing that, you're like, wow. And it doesn't happen. And I'm saying, here, Dennis, what about on the 3rd of Feb, 2015, when we said this or said that, when so-and-so, what's happening with that? Oh, well, it fell through. Well, another one fall through. Is this what we're up against here? Stuff falling through? Grown men talking a load of crap? Because I don't... If people say something to me, Terry, you know what I'm like? If I say to you, Terry, I'll sort that out for you, blah, blah, blah. What do I do? Stand on, don't I? But in the boxing industry, it's like chess, isn't it? People say and chat rubbish. And I can't be around rubbish chatters. I can't be around it. I've heard so much of it in prison over the years. I don't want it in my own life. It's like these here, they've backed me 100%. But first time there's any rubbish chatted, I'm gone. I'll be back in my shed. I've got other people offering me offices anyway, so that don't matter. But I will not have rubbish chatted in my company. I just can't have it. I don't like the talkers and the smoky bacon walkers, isn't there? But the boxing industry as a whole, it's all designed for us all to fall out, isn't it? So it ain't Dennis's fault. It's people saying things to him, or we're going to sign this person, we're going to sign that person, or what were the first time I really thought, what am I doing here? The Frankie Gavin fight, you know, the world title for the IBO. No, you remember that though, don't you? I said, Dennis, I want to make a world title fight. He went, well, crack on then. So I did. Got in touch with IBO. I had Frankie Gavin come up. This is all through social media. He came up with his team. Everybody shook on it. The date were arranged. IBO world title fight, all down to me, all off my back. Obviously, Dennis had to okay everything. He's like, you're flying, Porky. 2 weeks ago, what happens? All folds, doesn't it? Can you imagine how I felt about that? I wanted to kill people, but it's the industry as a whole. You know, you're pedaling in an hurricane or a whirlpool, aren't you, in the middle of the sea? You just go around in circles, and I thought, I'm going around in circles with this boxing game here. And of course, there's no money in it. And you're thinking, well, look what I've gave up to do. And it's all, and your savings are going down and down. And I'm thinking, what's going on here? Am I wasting my time here? Listening to people just chatting utter nonsense. But it isn't them chatting nonsense. It's people chatting nonsense to them and then them telling me. And it's other people who've chatted it down the line, isn't it? Do you see where I'm coming from? It's like a chain, isn't it? A crap.
Hey, boxing is a game where, you and I have talked about this privately, Russ. I've said it to you before. You can't have principles and you can't have feelings.
Yeah, that's it. I've got both, haven't I?
Yeah. If you want to succeed in boxing, you can't have principles, you can't have feelings. Like, you have to do business with people who have said things about you. You will do business with people you've said things about. Mate, the number of times I've been to shows and I've had to see people I've spoken about. And like, sometimes you think it's awkward. Sometimes guys will come up to you and they'll go, mate, do you know what, mate? You were fair. At least you didn't hammer me. I'm like, well, yeah, it was just balanced. And so you learn how to just navigate through boxing. That's why I have no enemies in boxing. I have very few friends in boxing. Very few. And most of the friends I have, we all came up in the amateurs together. Do you know what I mean? So the pro game is not a place to make friendships.
You know what Frotch told me a few years ago? When he was fighting Groves, I went to his house when they were getting ready for Groves' fight. Yeah. Sat in his house, drinking green tea. Thought, I might get a biscuit here. Give me one of them horrible Bakewell fitness bars that don't taste like a Bakewell cake. Yeah. And he said, you know what it is? You've got to be selfish in this sport. And he was getting ready for his 4 o'clock session. You've got to be selfish in the sport. He said, I've only got half an hour. I've got to get to a session with McCracken. And he says the name of the game is being selfish. And he was very selfish, Carl. He wouldn't think, no, we're going out with his friends and drinking, water and then going home at 9 o'clock. You've got to be selfish and disciplined, haven't you? and you can't be everybody's mate. Eddie Hearn's not everybody's mate. He might come over as the mate, but he's got to be ruthless. And like you just probably touched on there, I thought been here over 5 years. Dennis is stable. When I left, well, worse than when I started there. So it says a lot about me, doesn't it? But I think as a whole, I think he'd had a lot of bad luck in the 5 year I was there with him. I think he'd had a lot of bad luck. A lot of people let him down. Obviously, I'm not going to go into detail without letting coming out with names, but I just think he's stable is weaker now than he's ever had it. But I think there's a lot to do with the fact that he's been froze out, hasn't he, by Hearn. Hearn won't work with him, will he? Because of the Jamie McDonald situation. And he hasn't got a fantastic relationship with Warren, has he?
They would work with him. Here's the thing, right?
No.
If Dennis managed Joshua, for example, right, they'd work with him. No. You couldn't. I could put it. I can only freeze you out to a certain point, Russ. I can only freeze you out until you have something I need.
Yeah.
And remember when we used to speak years ago, and I remember saying to you, I said, if in Dennis's position now, I'd park the promoting for a couple of years, and I'd draw up a list of all these talented kids coming through, and I'd sign them all up to management deals.
Well, what you've just said there is very similar to what I said to him last time I were in Jersey, and we were sat in Jersey in this bar next to Harbour, and I said to him, why don't we just sack it for 2 years, and like you said, Dennis, watch the landscape change and then come back in. Then just recharge yourself, because he was falling, when I started with him, he was falling out of love with boxing. His wife wants him to pack it in, Sarah. She'd have him pack it in tomorrow. Because I don't think he's on shop floor like Steffi Bull or Joe Gallagher, every day. He's not that type of guy, Dennis. That's why he needed somebody like me around him to say, this is happening, that's happening. What about this person? What about that person? Like were you giving me lists of kids that, ready to turn over, and kids who are going to leave certain people and that. Like Steve Goodwin, he's on shop floor all the time, isn't he? Steve Wood is, Mick Whale, people like that. I don't think he's got that much on. I don't think he can devote as much time to it. And you've got somebody like me, what about this? What about that? He's like, I'm going in a meeting and this and that. I can't work like this. Do you know what I mean? He's got that much on. But I think he's pissing in an hurricane now. And I think that, I don't know where he's going to go now. I mean, he's working with them Scottish people and that, but I've heard all the stuff like that before the last 6 years. So I wouldn't hold my breath on anything like that, because it isn't Dennis's fault. It's boxing as a whole. A lot of people chat a lot of nonsense for their own ends. And probably right, they're probably being selfish.
But this is where the point comes in, Russ. When you have your own stable of guys, right? And on that list that Dennis had, there were at least 6 or 7 guys.
Yeah, they could have had.
Who are above British level, right? When you get to that point, you become like Joe Gallagher was about 3-4 years ago, where no matter how difficult you may be as a person, people will do business with you because they've got no choice. Now, look what happened to Joe. When you had a choice about whether to use Gallagher fighters or not, Eddie was like, nah, which is a shame. But it's a reminder that you always have to have that golden ticket. Yeah, that's why people work with McCracken. It's why people work with Caldwell. They've got that golden ticket. And so that's what Den needs. Look, doing shows is cool, and it's a great boost for the ego to have people show up for something you organized. We get that.
Yeah.
But the big picture is the ownership of scarce resources. And the scarcest resource in boxing is an elite level fighter.
Yeah, if he gets, I mean, David Adelaide, right? He had first offers to get him, David Adelaide, and he had first chance at him when he was still an amateur, 2 years before he turned pro. He didn't sign him. He had a chance there, and I said, I can't believe he didn't get that off that line. Can't believe it's the way he's London, isn't it? We're Sheffield. But yeah, now he's working with people from Scotland. So I don't get that, mate. I don't get that.
Look, when I see Den and I spend time with Den, the thing I love about Dennis is he's like the Gary Kasparov of boxing, right? He sees all the pieces today, but he can also see the board 5 years down the line, right? Yeah. He can do that.
Yeah.
In his position, all he had to do was literally go, right, okay, here's where the thing's at the moment. Let me go and get these young kids who are knocking people out. So I know they got power. and I'm just going to manage them. Because when you manage someone, you got that 3-year contract.
Yeah.
So it's hard to dislodge your fighters from you for those 3 years. So they're going to have to deal with them at some point. And then as you guys get bigger and more important and you deliver for them, they go, okay, now I'm going to renew with you. Now you become a force again. Once you become a force again, you can put your own shows on.
Well, look at Josh Whale, right? His contract's up next month with Dennis. They're going, aren't they? They're running contract down. That's been allowed to run down it, and he ain't even phoned him in a year. What's all that about? He hasn't fought since last Feb, Josh, and we're now March. That's 13 months. He's got a month left. Josh is 4-0 with them and won an IBO international. So I signed Josh for Dennis. I like to think that were probably my only bit of success, wasn't it? Really.
Okay. But I want to ask you a question then, Porky.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with Josh Whale during a pandemic?
What do you mean? Because you can't sell no tickets because arenas are shut.
You're basically feeding him to someone, aren't you? You're feeding him to a Lee Wood or Jordan Gill. That's all you can do with Josh Whale.
Well, they agreed to Jordan Gill fight, Mick Whale and Josh. We matchroom, but Jordan Gill wanted it over 10 rounds, and Mick said no, we want it over 12 rounds. They said no, because can't do rounds, you see. Gill can't do the rounds, mate. Josh Whale can do them, can't he? He's seasoned.
Yeah, and so that's the issue you've got, essentially, is there were just certain people who weren't going to fight during a pandemic because they relied on selling tickets, and once the tickets weren't a factor, then it's like, you're not young enough for me to invest in you, and for your age profile, you're not a big enough name that the fans at home will want to watch you. So you're just stuck in this middle ground, and it does nothing for your career. Yeah,
that's bottom line. Yeah, but I think I don't know who Josh is going to go back with. I have a good idea who, you know what I mean, and good luck to him. He's on shot floor every day, but we'll see, won't we? But he's 33 next month, Josh, I think, or 32. Might be 33.
Yeah, and for a small guy, man, you're old at that age.
Yeah, but he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he don't party, and he's in bed early and that, and he's trains all the time. So that he's a good 33, isn't he?
Nah, I've seen him in the ring. That's a 33. He's 33.
You reckon?
Just because he's been in that many tough fights, yeah.
He's in good nick.
Well, he's in good civilian nick, right?
No. What you mean? Because he's not fought for a year. You mean? Is
not even that? It's just when you're 33. What's he now? 126 pounds, 130 pounds.
9 stone. Yeah.
Yeah. When you get to those sorts of weights, man, it's a young man's game. Like Frampton's finding this out. Warrington found this out. It's a young man's game.
Well, we're going to see, aren't we? We're going to see. But I wish Josh well. I wish Dennis well. I mean,
I wish everyone well.
I'd like to see Dennis come back and do something at sport, but I think he needs to step back and then come back when the landscape changes. Because at the moment, you're going round in circles, I think. I were going round in circles with him, so if I were, I know he were, so I know what we're talking about.
I always go back to the thing I said to Den. I said, sometimes you need to stop everything. You need to get a big whiteboard up, and you need to start with, what does success look like for me? Is it success as a promoter? Is it success as a manager? Right? If it's as a manager, it's like, okay, who can you sign? And you just build it that way. And then eventually you end up with okay, here are the people we have to sign. Here's how we can develop them. Cool. Problem solved. And then you may get 3 years down the line, Russell, and go, all right, we've got a stable of 30 guys here. We've proved that we deliver for our guys. Let's put some shows on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all exciting stuff, and exciting times ahead. This is why we love this sport so much. Josh Kelly is a precocious talent. Rough, tough, rugged, durable, all action, compelling, rugged, sizzling. You know what, Johnny? There's added spice to this bout tonight. Adam Smith, the only man that can turn punching somebody's head into those body shots will pay dividends later. That'll turn into an investment with an ISA. And when he's talking about added spice and sizzle, it's like a Gordon Ramsay TV program, isn't it, for cooking?
There you go. You see, he's giving you multiple dimensions to your experience.
The Dennis Nielsen of boxing, isn't he, Adam Smith? That'll get me in trouble. Right. It's been a pleasure, Terry. I hope you're well.
You too, mate.
You need to get over to Rico's.
Ah, mate. Like when this lockdown eases and stuff. Right now, you know what I mean? I'm in my bubble right now, man. I don't travel too far.
All right, then. Well, listen. I hope you're well. Have a great day, Rico, and thank you for coming on and being a part of Porkys Corner.
You too, mate. Don't have nightmares.
Nicking my lines. Peace out. Thank you to everybody for watching. Like and subscribe and leave a comment. And don't forget to press the white button below to join the exclusive members club for the extra content. There'll be 10 extra videos a month for you on that. Not this one, though. But I don't know which ones to put on that, so I'm just going to put them on every other day. So it might be helmets, it might be a Terry interview, it might be just me ranting off, but the extra 10 will be on members. All right, I don't think there's any on there yet. I think there will be tomorrow. So freezing them. Got a bit of flu coming on. All right, peace out.